All right. I think it's starting. There we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode. So it is just myself today, but we do have a guest. Becca's sitting this one out. We have a guest, Danielle. Danielle, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know her through Instagram, and she'll tell us a little bit about what she does. And
Hey, now we did meet once in person. Do you remember it?
did we? Was that it? I had to be at Nsika, I'm guessing, right?
It was in the food line.
Oh, oh, okay. I kind of remember that
Yeah,
in Pittsburgh. Was it in Pittsburgh or
no, it was
Minneapolis?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Okay.
Because I
Man,
think I
that's
was
been so
already
long
following
ago.
you on Instagram, and you were smart enough to put on your um, name tag your Instagram handle. And I said
Oh,
something. I was like, "What a good idea to put
yeah,
that,"
yeah, yeah.
because that's how everyone knows each other, and that's how I
Right.
remembered it. Anyway, yes, I am Danielle Whigham. I am a potter. I suppose everyone is. A part-time potter, full-time mother of three who are really busy with summer activities right now, so it's really hard for me to get any pottery done. And I just work out of a home studio and been doing it for about 4 years now. I don't know
Hmm.
what else you want to know.
Yeah, I think I initially stumbled upon your stuff. I don't know if it was from Etsy. I initially saw it, but I stumbled upon it and I liked the flat surfaced mugs that had a bunch of facets on them. I don't know how you would call
Yeah,
them. What do you name those?
yeah, I call them faceted mugs.
Faceted
So
mugs. Yeah.
people come up with some pretty interesting names for them, but that's yes, what
Yeah.
I.
I think I stumbled across those somehow and I really loved just the attention to the texture, and then the glaze like application looked perfect, and I think your handles looked amazing, and I think that's how I initially like
Oh, well, thank you. I
stumbled
am
up on you.
a handle snob, so I appreciate that you notice them. I spend way more time on my handles than I should.
I'm a handle snob too, but like I think customers appreciate it.
Yeah,
At
I think
least
so.
I like
I
to
mean,
hope they do.
yeah,
Yeah. Do you pretty much sell online, or how do you get
I
your stuff
do.
out there?
I started, you can't really just start online. I feel like nobody knows who you are. So that wasn't my initial plan. And I just started with like the most local markets, a couple times a year. It takes me a while to build up enough inventory to show up somewhere. And then a little bit bigger market, a little bit bigger city. And then I think I had just dabbled in Etsy, maybe a handful of sales before COVID. And with that canceling everything, I just went full time Etsy, and it actually just went really well. I think a lot of people were purposely buying from small businesses online during COVID as a way to support makers and small businesses. And so that's when my Etsy sales really took off, where I was like selling out and then I've since then I've kind of got into a habit of like a once a month Etsy sale, unless I'm doing an in person market, which I do maybe like two a year now, and then I'll skip a month or something. So that's been
Okay.
kind of the last 2 years.
Nice. And what area do you live in? I don't know
I
that.
live near Omaha, Nebraska, so I'm a Midwest girl. I actually live in Iowa, but I'm like 30 minutes from Omaha. That's the identifiable city in my
Okay.
area.
Is there
So
quite a
yeah,
bit of like show options there when you go to like look for those,
Omaha
or
Omaha definitely has an art scene. I haven't gotten into it mostly because I'm kind of lazy and just haven't got my Nebraska sales tax info yet. I just have an Iowa one. So I've just stayed on this side of the river, but I used to live in Des Moines, which is the capital of Iowa. So I went back there a few times just because I know a lot of people there and did some markets and um, but no, I haven't really dove into the Omaha art scene. I think initially I was sticking to things a little smaller as I was getting going. I'd feel more confident doing it now, but now I'm selling so well online. I just don't really have a lot of energy to put into
yeah,
markets. They just take up a lot of time. So
yeah. I bet the
the
flexibility
kids,
with your family and everything
yeah,
is
with the kids, it's almost like an activity every weekend. So I'm about guaranteed to miss something. It's easier to just do online. If I ever needed to go back to in person, I would totally like look more into it.
yeah.
But I'm kind of okay with just selling mostly online right now.
Yeah. What were your kids doing while you were at markets and those kind of things? Would they go with you or would they
No,
kind of hang
oh
back
gosh,
or
no, they're miserable. I mean, they're like, think they're helpful, but they would just be like, I'm hungry the whole time. And no,
you
they
can't
don't.
switch off the mom part when
Yeah,
you're
no,
there?
they just stay home with my husband or like someone. So no, they don't come with me. Oh, now that
Okay.
I think about it. They
Luckily,
want
it sounds like you can do the markets. Do you have help setting up and all that, or is it something
not
you can manage on
usually.
your own and you've just got the
Yeah,
hang of it?
it kind of depends where you go. A lot of times they have people that will help me. I can do all my setup on my own. Just takes me a while, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason I was wanting to chat with you was about Etsy because I know I think you were sharing some in stories recently about Etsy and your own website, and with some of the discussion about Etsy raising some fees and whatnot, there was some of that kind of in the air of, I'm sure a lot of people were kind of going into this thought process of
Right.
what's involved and what do I need for my business. And
Exactly. Well, I think it was, yes, I was asking those questions because maybe you remember, was it a month or 2 months ago? They raised um, the percentage that they take, I think from 5 to 6.5%.
yeah, I think it was a transaction fee increase from
Yeah.
5 to 6.5%. I want to say
Um,
transaction fee is the right
yeah,
fee
it's
that
not
they're
like a
talking.
listing fee or anything like that. I think it was the transaction fee. And then a lot of people were trying to push back on it and like putting their shops on vacation and things like that and trying to like stick it to them, which,
Hmm.
but yeah. So then I mean, I think everyone debates with like having their own shop site. And it was kind of like, okay, is this going to push me over the edge? To finally get my own site that I could sell on, but I still haven't done it. So,
Yeah. What kind of went into your thought process when you were going through that, like making a pros and cons list, and like what was
yes.
most important to you?
Well, I mean, it kind of has to come down, unfortunately, to like what's financially the best decision for me. As much as like on principle, I don't really want to be on Etsy anymore just because I feel like I think a lot of makers feel like they're a bit of a sellout because if you go to their site, it's not really that much handmade stuff anymore. It's a lot of, you search mug and you're going to see mass produced mugs that somebody just
Hmm.
designed like a quote for or something.
Right.
It's not the handmade that it used to be. And it's also just like, it's insane. It's huge these days. Like, it's ridiculous. So I think in an effort to just get away from them on principle, I really wanted to build a site, but then I had to see if it was like financially worth it. And although I didn't look into like every single option, one of the options I did look at was Shopify because a lot of people love Shopify. They said it was super easy to set up because, as you found out, just trying to set up this Skype call, I am not super gifted when it comes to like technology and website things. And it's also just not where I want to spend my time. Part of me is like, I let my time be for making
Hmm.
and don't take my time away from me to do things that I don't want to do. And that, it takes away from me being able to make stuff. So I was kind of dragging my feet, but everyone's like, Shopify is the best. So I looked into it. And from what I saw, again, I didn't like go too far down these roads, is Shopify has like a monthly fee because most sites that have the like commerce part added to it has a fee associated. And just looking at Shopify's monthly fee versus what I pay approximately in a year for fees for Etsy, it would have cost more to do Shopify because, and this is for me, because I don't make a ton of sales. I'm very part-time
Hmm.
and I don't even sell every month. So I don't want to pay for Shopify every month if I don't have a sale for a month or two or three out of the year, which is quite possible. So that was one thing that I had to figure out. And I know there are people suggested other sites, and maybe like where they just do the
Squarespace, I'm
percentage.
sure,
Rare.
or I don't
Now,
I feel like all of them, for the most part, are that kind of monthly fee. I'm sure you could save some money if you pay annually, but then, like, do you know what you're getting yourself into if you just pay for a whole year? Are you ready to commit that long? Um, are there other comparables that you found that were you pay when sales happen, similar to an Etsy?
Well, I didn't, like I said, I didn't go that far into like deciding. I looked into Shopify because that was definitely the number one recommended as far as like ease of use and best customer service from people. And that one, I think it was something about like $30 a month. And like I
That's
said,
pretty.
just with the amount of sales I make, it was like kind of a wash or not really that different. I was like, is it worth me spending a couple days or more setting this up, relearning it all? And then some people have said Square is just like a transaction fee percentage. And I
Hmm.
don't know 100% if there is also like a base monthly fee and then
Yeah.
a transaction fee
That's
percentage.
it sounds kind of like we talked about on the podcast before, but Becca refers to it as Squeebly, where it's like Square and Weebly. I have my own website on Weebly. I pay a monthly fee, but that's really just kind of a static website. There's a bunch of information about my shows and it has a feed of my Instagram posts and like classes and my blog is on there and it's a bunch of just information I like to share, but it's not e-commerce. I could add e-commerce to it for probably around what you're talking about, like $30 a month.
So I'm guessing the basic site is pretty affordable then without the
Yeah,
e-commerce.
I want to say it's probably $12 a month or something like that for just a
Okay.
basic site. And you don't personally have your own website, do you? Or
So oh no, I don't have any site.
okay, so you just use yeah, you don't have your own personal art website.
No,
Okay.
I have Instagram, I have Facebook, I have Linktree,
Right. So you'd
and
be starting
my
from zero.
absolute zero.
Yeah. Which I
And
think is a big consideration for people. You can't just
no,
say that it's $30 a month and you're going to make a bunch of money because I mean, some people put a heavy weight into all the work to get all their pages together and make sure it looks really good and is branded right and they get the images and all that stuff. And then some people are like, I can just start with a shop page and about me and that's it.
yeah. I think I'd keep it pretty simple, but I would definitely probably I'd spend way more time than I probably should in making sure it looks exactly how I want it to look. But I mean, that's just my personality. But then, yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I've been keeping it like super simple. I don't even have a website. So,
Right. And I only have the website because I wanted to get the branding in case people search for me.
that's
And I
yeah,
do like web development full time, so I understand the website stuff, but I also understand that even me, I don't want to spend time doing a whole bunch of rigmarole to maintain a website. So I
right.
keep it as simple as possible for me. I make sure people can find out about my events if they want to see me in person. And then a lot of my like I used to use Pinterest a lot and everything would link to my website
Yeah.
to help like drive people to sign up for mailing lists and stuff like that. But yeah, I understand where people don't want to spend the time, but I also understand where people are like on principle. I want to get off of Etsy because I don't want to continue giving an entity money when, but I
An
mean, you're still
entity. Yeah.
giving another entity money. It's just maybe you
I
feel better
know.
about it.
I know. So it's like, is there really a big difference? It's hard to say. And I honestly, and I'm sure you're like this too, Etsy for me, I use purely as a selling platform.
A point of
I don't
sale.
expect,
Yeah.
yes, I do not expect them to bring me customers. I do not I don't pay for their ads or anything like that. Like it is literally like, let me just give you the link. This is my shop site. I don't expect them to do anything else for me. And they
Hmm.
think they keep promoting themselves as like, we'll sell your stuff. And that's I'm like, you don't though. You don't sell my stuff. I sell my stuff,
Hmm.
but I'm just using your
I
website
think
to do it through.
I think a big factor in that is whether you have listings that have a long life to them. But in your case, it seems like you're listing and then selling pretty quickly and you almost sell out every time. Is that accurate?
I have for the last like 2 years, I have.
Okay. See, I'm not in that space. Like, I don't sell out when I list stuff, so I pretty much have pieces that live there a long time, and things like shot glasses, they never get delisted or sold out because I always restock them. And those are listings, shot glasses, spoon rests, those always stay around, and that helps Etsy send people my way because they're always in search results.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for me, that's where Etsy is driving a lot of traffic to me. Whereas if people rely on it for point of sale first and foremost, and they're driving all the traffic, like your restocks, then you're not necessarily relying on Etsy for that. But the ease of the seller's platform makes it worth it for you. It sounds like
Yes.
you feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I looked at the analytics of like where people are coming to my Etsy site from, and it's all just like direct link from my Instagram or from my Facebook or literally typing it in.
Yeah. Which I
So
think is
they're
great for
not,
you. That means you're doing something right with your marketing, at least.
I don't know. I think it's just a supply and demand, and the supply is low. I just don't make that much stuff.
But that totally works for people. Like, if you can
Yeah,
have a restock and you sell out, like, I would feel amazing if I sold out. But I
yeah.
can't. I don't have my expectations that high anymore. But
And
I know
sometimes
that
I
people.
just wish I had something in the shop because people are always like, "How come your shop's empty?" I was like, "Ugh." Like
Yeah.
every time you get a new follower and they're like, "Do you ever have anything in your shop?" And you're like, "I wish. Sorry."
I mean, it feels good, but I'm sure it's super stressful for
It can
you
be a
to be
little
like,
stressful. Yeah.
I don't have to worry about those questions. I always have to point people. But then I'm like, are they gonna buy it? But I don't really care, honestly, because I make enough stuff and people have
Yeah.
multiple ways they can buy my stuff.
That's why I go dead on Instagram for like a week or two at a time because I'm like, I don't want to answer the question. And so I just like will just go quiet. Like I don't post anything. Nobody will notice I'm there. And then when I finally have something that, or like I'm gonna have a sale or something new, then I'll get back on and post. But I just can't deal with it sometimes.
That's funny. So how much inventory are you regularly making and selling on there? Like, what's a restock look like for you?
It varies. Like this summer, it like because all three of my kids are at home and I don't want them to go to daycare. Like I enjoy being able to. Right now, I'm basically just like an Uber driver for them, but
What
I don't
ages
even
are
spend that
they?
much
I
time with
don't.
them. Okay, my son is 11, my daughter is 9, and then I also have a 6.5-year-old. So she's here. I hope she doesn't interrupt me at any point, but she's cute, so she can get away with it.
Okay.
But they're just like do a lot of stuff. So most
Yeah,
of our
they're
time
kind
is
of in
spent in
that
the car.
age where they're pretty active and
They're active and no one can drive. So
yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. Like I'm gonna have a restock of like maybe 30 pieces this
That
month, and
seems
that's
manageable though. Like, I feel like
yeah,
you probably wouldn't want to pack and ship like 70 pieces all the time.
no. So during the school year, it might be 50 to 70 in a month. And when I did a show back in, oh, I have all the info somewhere. Just in May, I did a show where I really built up a lot of inventory for it. And I think I sold like 150 pieces.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so that's like, but it's not consistent. Like it ebbs and flows depending on
Hmm.
kind of what's going on. And if I took a week off that month or if we had to travel a lot or something. So
Does it personally feel any different from you selling at a show and getting sales versus selling online and getting sales?
yes, it definitely does. Like there's something about seeing people react and interact with your pieces that can be so satisfying. And you're like, oh my gosh, they hold it and they'll just be like, oh, that handle. And you're like, yes, you get it. They cannot do
Yes.
that online. And but then I hate selling things to anyone that I know. Like for a friend of mine or someone that I know to hand me money and for me to take their money, it's like almost like an embarrassing feeling or something. Maybe it's just me, but I like despise it. So whenever I have a show, it's usually there's always people I know that come because that's somewhere like in an area. And even though I know that they want to buy it, they get here, part of me is like, I just want to be like, just take it. Just take it. I don't know
So you'd
why.
rather
I
than
just
just take it, but they want to support something that you handmade.
I know. I just want to give them
Interesting.
like a discount or something. I hate it. So there's something about being online and I don't have to see anyone like hand me money. And it was like someone I know. It's just way easier. But I think that's just me.
That's
Maybe I am really
interesting.
weird. I don't
It's kind
know.
of makes me chuckle.
It's weird, I know, but I hate it. Like,
Are
ugh.
you pretty like good about the interaction and stuff it shows, or
I
are
think
you
so.
pretty
I mean,
introverted or
probably like most potters or artists, I am introverted, but I can like get past it for like 2 days and like be super sociable. I don't have a problem talking to people. It's just not, it's like after 2 days, it'd be very exhausting for me.
Mhm.
I'm not like, whoo, energized after that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to go be by myself for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can do it. It's fine. It's fun like twice a year. But if it was, I
Right.
some shows and you do it a lot, like people do it every weekend. And I'm like, no, I'll
Yeah.
take a week to recover and then you'd have to do it again. And
Yeah,
so
I would suspect having the kids probably helps because you probably go to all these different activities and you socialize with other people there and you're
yeah,
used to
it's forced
conversation with strangers
socialization.
or,
I'm pretty good at
acquaintances and
small talk.
yeah.
So.
Do you feel like you have to be salesy at the shows?
No, because
Or
I don't like selling. I don't
yeah,
like
so you're like, "Oh, you want to give me money? Okay, I'll just handle."
yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's so awkward. I almost wish that like someone else could go sell it for me. And
Mhm.
this is sometimes, I think maybe once my husband went with me and I just kind of like talked to everyone and then he sat in the back and like did the sales.
Ring people
And
up,
that
yeah.
was way better for me. Like I don't know. I feel really weird about like literally taking like people's money. If it's
Yeah.
online, I don't it's weird, but
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
j- I feel like I've found instead like I found just having genuine conversation with people and just talking about the work and not throwing things in there that are salesy, but just having a regular conversation and then letting silence also kind of work for you where if they handed you something that they're interested in but they're still looking, like don't feel like you have to say anything. Like let them continue looking. And then if they happen to pick something else up, like I don't want to have to spark a conversion there to like, hey, do you want to get that thing too? And like feel like I'm gonna sell them on something else. It's like let it kind of breathe and then see what happens. Start wrapping something and
Yeah,
then if they do come up with something else and they're like, oh, I want this too. I'm like, okay.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like kind of let it ruminate.
Yeah. And then I'll
Yeah.
just be like,
I'm glad I
is
just
that all
didn't.
for you or, you know, anything else, something like that.
Is that all for you?
Yeah.
Did you see the spoon?
Yeah. I'll just be like, is that everything? So I usually it helps when my wife's at the show because usually I'll
Yeah,
hand it to
that's
her
true.
to wrap things up. She doesn't handle the point of sale because I keep track of everything in the square pretty well. But
Yeah,
yeah, having her to help wrap things and get the bags ready, and then they don't have to like wait for me. That helps.
right. That always gets a little awkward too. You're like, let me just wrap all this up 5 minutes later.
Yeah, and then you feel like you're neglecting other people that are at the table,
Oh my
and you
God.
can't like interact.
Yes. Yes. It can be a lot.
Yeah, but you don't have any of that with selling online, so
I don't. I don't.
which
That's
has
what
its
I mean.
pros and
I'm
cons.
all
But
for selling online. I just like I'm trying to approach it just the best way for me. And I think it probably is definitely different for everyone. So um yes, but I have not my Etsy store is still on vacation and I haven't been on it in like 2 months. So definitely not gonna have that website built by my next sale, which will probably be this month still. So,
yeah, that's all right.
talk about it for another year. So.
I think everybody just has to weigh what's doable for them, what they prioritize, what they want to spend their time doing, and don't feel like everybody has to do the same thing.
Right.
I think some people weigh the whole if you have your personal website, it looks more professional, and you have your own entity, your own space. Like for you, it might make sense because you're driving a lot of the traffic, but you will have to go through that growing pain a little bit of building it, right?
Right.
and then ironing out all those kinks that you've grown accustomed to with Etsy, like the whole shipping and how do you pay for it and the boxes and
Yeah.
labels and everything like that.
So here's another question I asked, and which was a concern of mine, was switching from Etsy to just my own website. Is for me as a an online customer, like I buy things online all the time. I love not having to re-enter my credit card info, my personal info on multiple sites. So the idea of, if people have an Etsy account already, which a ton of people do because they bought something at some point in their life and they feel comfortable with that. The reviews are also, I have zero control over them. So I feel like people feel comfortable that they're getting like accurate information, that I wondered if people would have some hesitation buying off, like if I had my own website and they had to, although I think these days, and maybe you could tell me, it's a lot of it is synced with like PayPal and stuff. So they can just maybe
Yeah,
pay that
I
way.
will. I will be very reluctant. I'm like, I'm maxed out on making new accounts for new
Yes.
businesses. Like, I have enough, you have to have the secured node or you have to have a LastPass or something like that that handles all your credentials and all those. And I'm like, if someone were to get hacked, who is more likely to get hacked? This random artist's website, which is through Shopify. So like ultimately it would probably be like Shopify would get hacked. Or am I thinking that Etsy would get hacked or whatever? But if you go through PayPal, you don't have to, it's technically through PayPal. Is PayPal available for people to check out on Shopify or
Yeah.
name a website? Like, who's more likely to lose my information or whatnot?
I know. I mean, anytime you go to shop, I feel like if you're not shopping like a major site, Target, Amazon, whatever, you're a little bit leery, or you're like, I don't really want to put my info in there. Or,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't want to make another account. So that may sound stupid, but that's like a legit concern of mine, that people might not want to
Yeah.
just make the switch. And because I don't own my own site, I'm not 100% sure how this works, but like, wouldn't you have control over your own reviews if you had your own website, that you could just like delete bad reviews and stuff?
Yeah, I think you'd have to interface with like a third party tool that would accept reviews or solicit reviews and stuff like
Sure.
that. And then you would have to handle any back and forth with customers. Like customers
Right.
probably wouldn't feel as backed up if it was completely through Shopify. I mean, I think Shopify might do some like helping support customers if they bought and were not happy, but Etsy I feel like has a more established like siding with the buyer more so than the seller in
Right.
certain
They're going to
situations.
side with
But
the buyer, but they kind of draw out people to write reviews by like every time you get it on, they're like, oh, review your latest purchase. And so, in that sense, because everyone these days looks at reviews and they want to see what people are saying. And I think that makes a big difference in people feeling comfortable enough to like make that purchase.
yeah,
And so these are like the little things I think about too, and like how I shop and what affects me personally in deciding what to buy. And so I don't know if it
yeah,
would play into my customers sticking with me if I switch, just because they're used to something too. But,
yeah.
and maybe people can comment on that, like what their experience has been.
Right. And one thing I want to mention on the flip side of that argument of, who's more likely to get hacked, but also who's a bigger target. Like Etsy's probably a bigger target. It's probably going to be more beneficial for a
Right.
hacker to hack Etsy because the customer base is way bigger than to hack a Shopify or some random person's
Yeah.
site. Like the visibility is so much bigger. So, but also
Well,
Etsy probably has their own security team to like prevent against stuff like that or tackle it quickly. And if some, so there's also pros and cons of both
oh,
sides, but
totally agree. Yeah.
also yeah, I think you definitely have to weigh like how you buy stuff, how you think customers would come across it. I definitely factor in the creating an account, the
Yeah.
credibility of I can look, I know how to find my past purchases in there, and
Yep.
the reviews are nice. It's going to automatically email people with the reviews. Plus I think
Yep.
there's like after you buy that you can send like coupon codes and stuff like that to, I mean,
Yeah.
the negative there is you don't control the customer's emails and stuff. So being on your own website, you would technically have control of that, of knowing how to like remarket to them if you wanted to say like, hey, I've got this new thing going on. Do you want to participate or. stuff like that. I think that's another
Yeah.
thing people weigh.
My understanding is, and maybe you know for sure, but we don't own our Etsy customers. Like we can't contact them, I believe, based off the information they put on their Etsy account, like as an individual. We can contact them through Etsy.
Right.
But it's not part of their kind of deal. Is like these are actually Etsy customers, and you can like just take their email and like put it on your email list or something like that.
Right. You'd have to figure out a smart way to work around that a little bit. Like some people that sell on Etsy and also have their own website, they might put a coupon code that only works on their personal website to buy stuff.
Gosh,
so
who has time to have an Etsy site and a personal website like that? They sell on both.
I don't know. I would suppose if you're full time, maybe you're doing that to spread your wings a little bit further and try to get people from different areas. And if you get a purchase on your own site, you're getting more of a cut of it. And if you get, I would suppose they're probably selling enough that it makes it financially worth it.
Well, and they must have a lot of product. Like for me, I'm like,
right.
No,
Imagine somebody selling like prints or something, like screen prints or like printed images that are.
They're like, I can just make another one of these, no big deal.
Yeah, you have enough inventory that you can manage both.
Yeah. So that's another part where I'm like, I don't really like that Etsy kind of like they kind of own my customers. Like they're their customers, not mine. And then, but then, okay, here's the other thing that I was asking people about is the shipping. Like Etsy, and this, like, I think it was Kurt Hammerly who's like, you'll never find a better integrated shipping than Etsy, but you can find some pretty good ones because Etsy shipping it works pretty well.
Right. Yeah, that's a big part for me. I really love the shipping interface, and like I know that I can put all my predefined things with like how big this thing is going to be when it's wrapped, and if people buy 2 things, I know that it's pretty much going to be accurate with the box options that I've set. Yeah. And the shipping preferences of like, okay, I know it's going to fit.
Setting those up, but it's pretty slick, and you get really good shipping rates too. Like I don't know if you've ever taken something to the post office not on like Etsy's shipping rates.
I don't do that
anymore. Well, every once in a while, I've just got like an individual thing, like personal thing that I'm sending, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a huge difference.
Right.
Like you're saving $1 or $2 per thing that you ship. Like that adds up.
Mm-hmm.
I guess and also I do free shipping, so.
Oh yeah.
I don't charge them the actual shipping price.
How do you handle that? I feel like that's always a conversation, or it used to be a conversation when they first released it. How did you decide? Did you decide to do that immediately, or?
When I set up Etsy, I started free shipping from the beginning. I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, this is the way it's going to go. So I've never charged shipping in the sense that like I don't have it as an added on expense. I've always added it to the price of my items, which I mean, people have to know that's what you do. Right. But I think it helps a little bit that I live centrally, that I don't have items that are like $8 and items that are like $20. Almost everything runs in the $8 to $12 range for me. So I essentially, for a mug, tack on $10, and that evens out pretty well for me. And I don't know, people seem to like it. So I've always been free shipping with Etsy.
Yeah, that's great. I've always stuck to the add-on shipping because I do first class as well with the small pieces.
Sure.
So I've just stuck with, I'm not going to change to free shipping because I sell at shows, I sell online, I sell in consignment shops, wholesale. You know, I like to keep the price pretty steady across the board. And
yeah, it is hard then knowing how to price things at a show, because you're like, well, I'm sitting here for like 8 hours, so that needs to count for something, but I'm not spending money on shipping, but it also takes me time to ship. So like I've never added up the hours of like how long would it take me to pack up 50 things versus like 8 hours of sitting at a show. But I'd be curious.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at the pricing is, and we've kind of talked about this every now and then, but you know, wholesale is like the bare minimum that you would want to get for your price for this item. So like if you were selling it directly to somebody and they bought it in bulk and you got half the amount that you sold it that you retail it for and you got that, you still make money and you're happy with it. I think of the other half, if you sell it, is like I'm going to a show and that other half is paying for me to go to the show, pay for the booth fee, set it up, be there all day. Or the other half is taking the photos, listing them on the website, packing them, shipping them. Like that's the way I visualize the price
Yeah,
breakdown of a piece. So I wouldn't price it more if I go to a show versus listing it online because the effort is still kind of comparable.
sure. Yeah,
Um,
unless you're including shipping, then it's got to be a little
oh
more.
right, yeah, yeah. You have to factor the shipping in for sure.
Yeah. But if you weren't like if you were just doing add-on shipping, it should you're right, like it would be about. So when I go to a show, I usually just kind of take that shipping fee off. So things are, I'll tell people like it is a little bit cheaper if you come out to it because it's you don't have to pay you don't have to pay for the free shipping.
Right. The next thing was about Star Seller. So I think you're officially a
Yeah.
Star Seller on Etsy.
I think last time I checked I was.
Nice.
It
Okay.
took me a while to get there.
And I wanted to briefly mention what that entails. So I was looking this up on Etsy site, and it says it's Star Seller badge is what is determined by the last 3 months of the following criteria. So you have to have a minimum of 5 orders that total $300 before shipping and fees. Um, and then they have 3 other categories. It's like responding to messages quickly, which means you respond to messages within 24 hours to the first message from a customer, and that
Okay.
has to be 95% or more. Um, and then you've got shipping things on time. So shipping your orders within the stated processing time with tracking, and you have to be 95% or more on that. And then you have to have an average rating, getting an average seller rating of 4.8 or better. And this actually recently changed. It used to be 95% of your reviews had to be 5 stars. They just changed it in the last month or so. But so that
I
means
don't.
it factors in more 4 stars as well. It doesn't
Oh,
say like you just have to have 95% of them have to be 5 stars. Because let's say you sold like 10 things and 2 of them were 4 stars. You wouldn't meet that criteria or
yeah.
one of them.
Okay.
So how long have you been technically a star seller? Have you looked at
I
that or
think,
have you noticed it?
well, I'm trying to find it on the app right now. I think only maybe the last, I think maybe since my April sale. And I kept not getting Star Seller because it said that my shipping was like awful. But it turned out um, it's not. I shipped everything on time. The problem was is when people often make multiple transactions, because the shopping cart doesn't save things. So if they're in a hurry, they'll check out and then they'll come back and get something
Right.
else. And then I would combine shipping. And then I just would add a little note like shipped with your other order and marked it done. But Etsy didn't like that. And even though they have a place where you can say I shipped it with another order in
Hmm.
like a drop down, I realized if I was not putting that order's tracking number in the notes, then it just like didn't count it as
Yeah,
like,
when you move it from in progress to complete or whatever, it asks you what's the tracking number. You had to get it out somewhere. So if you marked it complete, what was the tracking? So I
yeah.
usually just copy and paste whatever yeah.
Well, then
Long
I
as you,
started doing that, but it like added a whole nother step. Like I had to go back to the other order,
mhm.
find the tracking number. It was always a hyperlink, and I was like, no, I just want to copy it. Like, quit being annoying,
Yeah.
um, and then like go back and paste it in. I found it like really obnoxious when
Uh-huh.
people obviously were getting their tracking info because it sent it to them, and I don't know why. When I told Etsy, I sent it with another one. They should be smart enough to like bring up the order with the same name or something.
Hmm.
It could be a little more intuitive. But that once I started doing that, then I was fine. And I got the Star Seller. I mean, it took a couple months, but I realized what the problem was. But
Yeah, because they review it for 3 months at a time. So it's the
no,
past 3 months. And if you
yeah,
got dinged like this month, you wouldn't really be able to work it off for at least another couple months until it's kind of in the rear view.
right, right. So I don't know. Do you think it makes any difference in buyers?
I don't know. I wonder. I want to know some stats from Etsy's perspective. Like, are there people benefiting from Star Seller, or like what percentage of buyers bought from a Star Seller versus a non-Star Seller? Or
Yeah,
we
I
see
don't
on
know.
average that people with Star Seller badges are getting 1.5 the amount of sale. I don't know. It's hard to compare shops, right? Because it's like
Right.
prices are different and like number of transactions doesn't necessarily mean much because like I sell a bunch
Right.
of shot glasses that cost $9. Like, you know, does
And
that
how
compare?
many? You only had to have like 5 transactions or 5 sales. That's not very many.
Minimum of 5 orders that total $300 before
Oh, okay.
shipping and fees during a
Man, you know
review
all the
period.
nitty gritty. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you mentioned that you only have to respond to the first message because I was getting really paranoid and I would always like keep responding to their messages so it
Uh-huh.
wasn't like left open and I'd be like, no, thank you. No, you're welcome. And because I was like, I don't want it to be like you didn't respond and
It's like
not get
who's got the
over.
last word here?
And people are probably like, just stop it. Like, so I clearly didn't read the rules very well. So thanks for clearing that up, Ryan. Now I won't
and
like
and some
respond
people
at
were
midnight.
I feel like, and there was a little bit of when Star Seller came out, there was definitely some backlash about it because they feel like it was just another step to run small business owners like robots and expect them to meet Amazon demands kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, there are tactics you can use. Like I was looking on this post, and I'll link it in the episode to look at what I was talking about. But like the messages, you could use an auto reply. If people reply,
Yeah.
you can have an auto reply that'll come back and say, hey, I'm busy making stuff. I typically answer things within 24 to 48 hours. Thanks so much for reaching out or something like that. Like that would be considered as a response.
They would count that. Okay. That's good to
Um,
know.
or, I use the Sell on Etsy app on my phone, so I see the
Right.
messages come through on my phone, and
Yeah,
that makes
I
it
see
apply
that
to
too.
people.
The messages aren't usually a problem for me. Every once in a while I'll miss one. Like I didn't see the notification, but I don't
Yeah.
get any people don't usually reach out to me from Etsy.
Yeah,
It's
I get a lot
boring.
of random ones, but I think it's because I have shot glasses on there, and I get people that reach out and like ask about quantities of shot glasses or asking me if I can make a saucer for a planter that's like a certain size or whatever. But
That
you know,
sounds really annoying.
it does get kind of annoying. But I mean, the number of wholesale orders I've got from it, I mean, I probably got like 5 or 6 wholesale orders last year from Etsy just from having those
From
shot
people
glasses.
on Etsy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kinda nice. I don't really do wholesale, but
So
um,
it's nice to make that first initial contact and then you kind of go down the path of what they're looking for. A lot of them turn out to be duds because people want them for their wedding and then they don't want to spend $1,000 on shot glasses. It's like I get it,
yeah, it
but I
wasn't
mean
in
it's
my
handmade.
wedding budget either.
And then the whole shipping thing, like, you know, Etsy is also trying to say like, hey, you should make sure you could ship things quicker. Quicker turnarounds mean buyers are more confident in their purchases. So it's like, but you want to make sure your processing time is accurate. You don't want to be selling something on Monday and not ship it till Friday if your processing time is 1 to 2 days, because it's going
Yeah,
to
but
ding
don't
you
you
on
set
Star
your
Seller.
own processing time?
Yeah,
I mean,
you can set it
you
yourself. So just make sure it's accurate with what you actually
well, so
end up.
long as you're accurate within your own shop, like policies or whatever
Right.
shipping time, then
And
it
it
should be
was
okay.
And it was saying you should do it based on the day that you drop it at the post office, not the day that you pack it. So,
Right, which I've had that issue before because it'll just automatically set the date often on Etsy to whatever day you're printing the labels. But sometimes for me, it's like a Sunday, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to the post office until tomorrow.
right.
I have
Yeah.
to,
So just
but you
being
can change
diligent.
that while you're, yeah. I don't, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like it's that unrealistic, the Star Seller, but like I said, I don't sell like full time on Etsy. For some people, I could see it being super overwhelming. For
Yeah.
me, it was stuff I was already doing. Like it was pretty much normal for me, except for I just wasn't adding those tracking numbers, which is fine. I mean, it seems a little excessive, but
Yeah. And then I think the rating part, like, I mean,
I mean,
thoughtful
everyone
touches,
wants
just making sure your
5-star rating.
photographs are realistic and not like
Yeah. Yeah. I
deceiving.
mean, I'm sure that would be a problem. I mean, that's like its own thing. Everyone wants 5-star ratings. Nobody's going to have good sales without almost like super high ratings, I feel like.
Right.
So
You'd have to do something a lot like wrong, or somebody that's kind
right.
of unreasonable to not appreciate it.
Yeah.
And somebody did ask about um so this might be where we wrap up, but
Yeah.
somebody said, do you have a Star Seller badge? I do everything right at shipping on time, answering messages. Here's what gets me. When I have a local pickup, I enter that. It's a local pickup. There's no tracking number. It's kind of similar to what you talked about earlier. And
Yes.
then they said, it makes my Star Seller not happen, and they were asking me how I do local pickups and are they missing something. So,
That's a
um,
good question.
yeah, that was from Sarah Crowley Ceramics. So I looked up a couple things for this. Do you get local pickups?
I do, but I don't know that I have in the last 3 months, so I can't say whether that would have tied into that one. But I do, and it was the same kind of thing. Is like it would because it didn't have a tracking info.
Hmm.
Why do they give you the drop down if
Yeah,
they don't understand that like this doesn't like this that should alert something like this doesn't can't have tracking info.
right. And I think there's a button below that drop down. It's got the regular drop down options, right, for USPS,
Right.
DHL, whatever. Um, and then I think there's one that says this does not have tracking or whatever. And I think you click that and then it comes up with another box. And
You
it's
have
like,
to and
why?
that's new. It hasn't always been like that.
Yeah, I think that's been there in the last couple months. And there is a
Oh,
local pickup option.
right, because I used to just have to say like no tracking,
Hmm.
no shipping info. And it
Right.
used to be like, so maybe it would change for her. Maybe they've already, because that used to be an issue of mine. And I think people must have complained about it or something because they have
Well,
to have a,
I looked at my most recent Star Seller information detailing how I'm doing, and that was one that was a local pickup that I did mark that setting, but it did ding against me. So the one solution that I came up with that somebody mentioned in a forum or something was, even though they don't have a tracking number, they suggested using the letter option, like choose a letter and send them a thank you note in the mail that cost you 53 cents. So instead of shipping the item, you would go to the option for like packing the box, but you would select letter or whatever the option is. What is it? I think it's like envelope or something like that.
yeah.
And do like a flat letter, and you can choose the settings of like how big the dimensions are, and you can. It's like 53 cents. It's like a stamp basically,
I know, but who has time for that?
and you can send them a thank you note if that
Oh
is
my
the thing that's
gosh.
hanging you up, and you can
I guess
mail
if
them a
you
thank you note.
really
Like
want
that's a
it,
way
Ryan,
around it
if
until
you
Etsy
really
figures this
want it.
thing out.
You could
But
also probably just print that and then spend 50 cents and not send a thank you note and
there
still
you go.
get.
You could do
Because
that.
I would never, I actually, okay, I do write a thank you note on every single Etsy invoice I print. I handwrite a note. So I shouldn't, I spend way
I
more time than I should.
I wonder. I think it's still going to email the customer their tracking info.
Oh,
It
so
might
then they're
email
like, now
them.
you're
So then
getting a
they're like,
letter.
maybe I don't know. I don't know if
I
it tells
always
them it's a
wondered,
letter, but they could say like your item's been shipped, right? Because you selected
yeah.
as tomorrow. Or maybe if you select today, they're like, well, I picked it up, so I'm not really worried about it. But
Well, I always wondered too for the people that I did select, like that were local and I just filled out something to get it to mark as done. What kind of email they got. Like, I kind of wanted to ask because usually there's someone I know. If they were local, I kind of want to be like, "What did Etsy send you?" I'm just
yeah,
curious because I never see the emails that they send out. I've
yeah,
only ever seen them as like a purchaser. I'm kind
I
of
would
curious
suspect
sometimes
it's
what they say.
probably your item has shipped, but if you don't actually have a tracking number, it probably wouldn't. I because I believe the automated emails that come through actually include the shipping link, like track your postage,
Yes,
track your order,
I
or
think
whatever.
so.
Um, but if they don't have that, I would suppose they just don't show that button. But if it is a letter, would they even get tracking with a letter? First off,
Well, yeah, I don't think so.
probably not. Um, but if you're really worried about it, if you're shipping out a couple local pickups, or you have a couple local pickups, maybe it's worth it to you if
Yeah,
that's really the one thing that's dinging you. That's what somebody came up with and was like, that's worth it, maybe 53
yeah.
cents.
I thought when they added that drop down that maybe that was their like solution to that kind of
I
issue.
thought it was too, but when I
But if
looked
she's still
this
having
month,
that and you were too, then it doesn't seem like that is correlating to like this
Yeah.
is how we deal with it for Star Cellar stuff.
Yeah. Luckily, I think the volume that I have doesn't ding me enough that 95% is not. It's not dropping below that.
Yeah.
Because I'm shipping
Yeah.
enough orders that it's one is not going to hurt me. But if somebody completely relies on, if they have 5 local pickups, like, that's going to hurt you.
That would be enough, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
All right, we're getting close on time here. Let's wrap it up.
All right. Good.
Thanks so much for joining us. If people want to find you on Instagram or wherever else, where can they find you?
Okay, I am on Instagram. I'm at D Whigham Ceramics. Will you type that somewhere?
Yeah, we'll put it in there. How do you if you say it whenever I read it, I always think it says like Dwight or something, and I'm like,
I know.
Well,
yeah,
Dwigham.
and there's so many. It's like so many. It's Whigham, which is never how people want to spell it. But I just figured if I use my name, I can always get a website or something because nobody else.
Yeah.
Nobody else that I know of is using that.
Yeah.
So, yep,
nice.
Keep it simple. Yeah, that's where I am. I have an Etsy, but their search function is also really hard to find.
Yes, it is. I don't know why that is. Like, why did they not? Do they just not think people are searching for shops? Because usually you search and then they're like, "Are you sure you want to look for the shop name?"
Oh my gosh, people
like,
can
why would
type
that
everything right, but just get like one space wrong or something. If it's not, and they'll never find my shop. It won't even come up as like a suggested thing. I was like, let me just give you the direct link.
Right.
Etsy has some really weird little things that's like, who did this? Like, why is your search function so ridiculous?
Well, it seems like they want to put the products first and foremost and not focus on shops, but I don't know.
Yeah. Let me put these other products up.
Yeah. All right, Danielle, thanks so much for your time.
Brian.
Thanks so much. All right.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye.